congratulations on the movie. I loved it.
Thank you.
How close is it to the original Peabody and Sherman?
Well, many of the elements are obviously the same, starting with the characters, Mr. Peabody and Sherman. There's, of course, the Wayback Machine, which is what will allow them to travel to any point in history and meet these crazy, outsized historical characters. So, really, those were the things that we based our movie on.
Sure. In the original, was he the father, or was it...
Yes, yes. In the very pilot episode, Mr. Peabody finds Sherman and adopts him, which, of course, everyone is a bit up in arms about because, no one thinks that it is appropriate for a dog to adopt a boy, but he still gets the judge's approval and manages to adopt him.
I like how it's just the reverse, boy and his dog, and now you have a dog and his boy.
Dog and his boy, exactly. It's a classic relationship. I think that's one of the reasons why I felt so strongly that this might work for a modern audience, even though a lot of kids haven't necessarily seen that original show.
Yeah.
But when I tell them the story, when I tell them that the dog adopts the boy, they're sold. They're in. They love the idea.
Yeah. I loved your historical choices. How'd you go about picking some of the different settings? I mean, history...
There's so many. Oh, my
pull?
God. We went through so many different possible ideas for where to go in history. And we ended up with this particular combination because they served a couple of masters. One was that they helped us to tell our story, which was really about a father and a son, and the growing relationship, the changing relationship between the two of them. And the other was that we could meet a character there, like King Tut, for example, in ancient Egypt, or Leonardo da Vinci in Renaissance Italy, characters that were so seminal to history and characters we wanted to know more about.
Yeah.
They're very, infrequently brought to life on film.
Sure.
And so we could actually show them and hear them speak and get to have a chance to have fun with them.
Yeah. One of the things I really liked about this movie is that you don't talk down to kids.
Well, I think, for me, growing up as a fan of animation, I always appreciated when I watched films that weren't, for kids per se. The Warner Brothers cartoons, Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny, all those cartoons were really created for a general audience. In fact, the animators at the time always used to say, we made the films for ourselves. And so I was influenced by one of the legendary directors named Chuck Jones, who created Pepe Le Pew and Roadrunner. Yeah. He was a mentor. I met him at the end, or during my first year at CalArts when I was studying animation. Yeah. And that's what he impressed upon us. He said we made these films to amuse ourselves. And so I think it's important when you're making a film like Mr. Peabody and Sherman that you're doing it for yourself and you hope that other people can enjoy it too.
I mean, it's definitely a standout. Is it kind of fair to say that a lot of animation out there today does the opposite? It kind of talks down to, or...
Well, I mean, certainly some do, but I don't think all of them do. I think that, I think animation has been experienced this incredible resurgence in popularity over the last literally 20 years. And it's been amazing to see this sort of grow over time.
Yeah. The other thing that I noticed was there's a powerful message in this. And it's to solve a problem, you can't go back. They had to go forward.
Exactly.
Which I thought was like, wow, I was thinking about it today.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's for that's a good message to send to kids and adults.
Yeah, absolutely. That you can't go backwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
What were some of the challenges with this?
Some of the challenges, I think for us, maybe the biggest challenge was creating these characters in 3 dimensions because we were used to seeing them as flat 2D characters.
Yeah.
And we wanted to create them in a way that connected themselves, literally to their history to make them look like those characters or like you might remember those characters. But they were entirely kind of a new creation in 3D.
Yeah. It's the 20th anniversary of The Lion King. Do you find yourself going back to what it was like putting that movie together versus this?
You know what? It's interesting. I mean, the technique of making an animated film has entirely changed with technology. But the basics are still the same. Obviously, you're still telling a story about characters. There's the screenplay, the storyboards. You cut it all together with music and sound, and so it shares many things. But yet it's entirely a new process.
Yeah. In terms of the casting, Ty Burrell is fantastic in this. How'd you go about
casting him?
Yeah.
Well, we thought long and hard about who to cast, and at first we thought we were going to cast somebody famous, someone with a marquee name. But Ty Burrell was just launching Modern Family at the time that we cast him, and he wasn't yet, a household word.
Yeah.
But now the show's become incredibly popular all over the world, and so, we're fortunate enough because the reason we cast him was because he was right. You know, he was a great voice, great actor with great talent.
He's almost the opposite of the character he plays
In Phil
Modern
Dunphy. Yes, I've said before that Mr. Peabody and Phil Dunphy are on opposite sides of the spectrum of intelligence.
And they're very much like their own Modern Family.
They are. Well, that's what we like to say. We like to say Mr. Peabody and Sherman are the original Modern Family.
What do you hope people will take away from this?
Well, a good time. I mean, I think that, you know, it's an adventure, it's fun, it's funny, but at the center of it is this character and this relationship between Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Yeah. When you're putting together a 3D movie, do you find, is it challenging? In terms of the scenes you make, that it really lives up to the 3D experience?
Well, yes. I mean, doing 3D, you know, for me was a challenge because I had never done it before, and it was really exciting to actually work in that medium. And so, yes, it sort of changes how you think about everything. I mean, you're really thinking about using the camera in an entirely different way.
Yeah. The Oscars are coming up. We've been asking everyone that we've been meeting, were there anything you really enjoyed this season or you're looking forward to seeing win in 2 weeks?
I mean, in all the categories? Or, you know, I love the Oscars. I watch every year. I usually make a guess in a pool that we have, and I frequently get it right.
Yeah.
So I can't give away any of my predictions. Because
Sequel?
people will start betting on me because I'm right. I will be right.
Do you see a sequel for Mr. Peabody and
Peabody and
Sherman?
Sherman. You know, I'm hopeful that that you know people fall in love with these characters, and if they do, I think then we would.
Yeah. The one thing I really loved was the use of the song "Beautiful Boy." It was perfect. Was that the original Beatles version?
That is it's a John Lennon song, so he recorded that after the Beatles. But it is the original John Lennon version of the song, which we were very, very fortunate to be able to get to use for the film.
It just fit. It fit perfectly.
Great.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you very
great.
much.